If you are a new or returning player with Cataclysm, you get to choose one of these ladder-ready decks. I'll be breaking down each of these decks and tell you why you should pick them or avoid them. You want to stay away from some of these decks as they will set you back a bit. Now, I do have these decks named after the archetype. So you see here Rafaam Warlock, it'll probably show up for you as ladder ready Warlock. Also, you can play all these decks for 7 days, so make sure to use that time to explore the meta a bit before you decide on which deck you want to pick or which meta deck to craft. Also, what's important to know is that we have 2 expansions for free during Cataclysm, and a lot of these decks and cards are from those 2 expansions, so you kind of have to predict what's going to be good in like 4 months after Cataclysm when you actually want these cards, when you can't use them for free anymore, as there's only a few time-waste cards in these lists. Also, these decks are probably not the best to play on ladder if you really want to be climbing, and I don't have any new Cataclysm cards, so I'll be mostly judging them on the cards that are in the decks. So let's get started with the first deck here. We got the Rafaam Warlock. Now, this deck has 2 legendaries. First one is Rafaam. Yeah, it's 10 cards, but you can see here it's only really one that's a time waste card, so you don't get that for free during Cataclysm. The other cards, the other legendary we have is Croctor, Crater King, and yeah, this has never seen play. I don't think it's gonna see play, so this one is not very valuable. You also get 1 epic card, well, 2 of them at least. The Cursed Catacombs, this is pretty much a staple in Warlock. This is a really strong card, and it's hard to see any Warlock deck that doesn't play this card. So that's a really good card, and yeah, Rafaam, it's not very good right now. It's been never playable so far, and I'm not really sure it's going to be playable when Cataclysm launches. And this card is obviously very limited. You can only play it in a specific Rafaam Warlock deck. So if this deck isn't viable, yeah, this card is pretty useless, and I kind of expect that to be the case. So yeah, neither of these legendaries I really have high hopes for. Then we get to the No Hand Hunter, and also this deck has 2 legendaries. First of all, we got Neri, which is quite strong right now, but I think after rotation it gets a bit weaker, but I think it's still going to be a good card in Hunter, even though we'll probably be seeing a lot of Dragon Hunter, which I don't think will play the card, but most other Hunter decks will probably really like this card, so a solid card for Hunter probably during the year. The other legendary we have is King Malok, and yeah, I'm not too hopeful in this card. It hasn't seen play at all so far, and yeah, it's just not that great of a card, so I wouldn't really expect this legendary to see a lot of play during the next year, though it is a time-based legendary, so you won't be getting this for free during Cataclysm. And then we also have 1 epic card, the Precise Shot, and yeah, this is just a solid card if you're playing a more aggressive Hunter list, so I expect this card to pop up in some decks, but yeah, not super important for Hunter overall. And here we have the Imbue Druid, and this one actually has 3 legendaries you get, so that's really nice. First of all, we got Amir Seal, and yeah, this is an extremely strong card. You play it in pretty much every Druid deck, and yeah, I don't really see that changing during the year, so yeah, this is definitely a staple for Druid, and pretty much the strongest card you can have if you want to be playing Druid. Then the second legendary you have is Hamul Rune Totem, and this just lets you play the Imbue Druid deck. Yeah, it doesn't get played to anything else, it's just Imbue Druid needs this, and this needs Imbue Druid to be good. And yeah, Imbue Druid, it was good at some point. I'm not sure it's gonna be good in Cataclysm, as I don't really have an orb to predict that, but yeah, if Imbue Druid sees play, you'll want it, otherwise not so much. And also for Imbue Druid, you want the Malorn Waywatcher, but this one you can play in any Imbue deck, not just Druid, so that's quite nice. It's a bit more flexible, so nice in any Imbue deck, and wouldn't be surprised if an Imbue deck will see play in the coming year. And also the 1 epic in this deck is the Reforestation, and yeah, it's not really a big deal. It's not really necessary in any deck, and it's not been an outstanding card so far, so not really a big deal, but it's nice to have as I drew it. And here we have the Imbue Priest deck, and this has not been an archetype the entire year, and yeah, I think Priest is going to continue to struggle with the slower decks. It just doesn't quite have the removal or the win cons even to really survive, and then even win if you survive. So yeah, not a great deck. That kind of means that a lot of these cards just seem not that great. The first legendary we have is Tyrande, and yeah, this is kind of what you maybe want to play in the slower deck, then double up on a card like Moonwell the Epic, which hasn't seen play so far, and I'm not sure we'll see play again in the next year. So yeah, that is only good in those slower decks, but I'm really doubting those slower decks will be any good, so unless there's going to be some additional support for this kind of card, this kind of deck. I don't think this card is going to see a whole lot of play, at least so far it hasn't seen any play. Then we have the Sheladosil. Now this was pretty common in the last year, a really strong card. It used to be 7 mana, now 8. Problem is though, it might be very hard to corrupt in a lot of decks, so I don't really expect it to see as much as we saw last year, because we had like Ziliax at 9 mana, we had the Zera be way more common, other cards. at 9 or 10 mana. And well, maybe this deck has enough cards to make it work. Yeah, I'm not sure. A lot of other decks are gonna see it work out, but overall, yeah, Shaladosil, not too bad of a card to have. And I definitely wouldn't be surprised if we'll see this card in decks in the coming year. And then the other legendary we have is not Ysera, because Ysera is free. Now, if you don't have Ysera, all you have to do is buy a Emerald Dream Pack and open that, and then you get Ysera added on top of that. So that's really nice. The legendary we have here is Medivh again. It's a fabled card, so you get all 3 cards. For just 1 card, and yeah, Medivh, it seems really strong. I thought it was going to be really strong, but the problem is just, yeah, again, surviving to turn 10 as Priest. There used to be ways to cheat it out on like turn 5 or 6, those ways are no longer there. So that made this card even weaker, and you kind of want to have at least 2 of these as well, so you can play the other one for a 0. That's kind of the point of this card. Feels like it's a really strong card if you can play it. It's just really hard to pull it off right now, and there's just no deck that really supports it. So if this card is going to see play, it just really depends if it's going to get any support cards to make it work. Then here we have the Dragon Warrior, and this is probably the most ladder-ready deck of all of them. Though with Cataclysm, there's going to be a bunch of new dragons you probably want to be playing instead of some of these cards. Now the legendaries we have here, we have no epics in this list, are Chronoloord Epoch. Now this is a time-based legendary, so don't get it for free during Cataclysm, but this card has been kind of disappointing. It has not felt great. Plus you're playing a Dragon Warrior deck, which is a more aggressive deck, and this is more of a reactive card, so it doesn't really work that great in this kind of deck, and it's often going to be stuck in your hand. So not really an amazing card, but it might be like situationally going to be good in the next year. The other legendary I have is Dracorex as the Gromash here, and also the Brightwing here. They are part of the core set, so you get them for free. But the Great Dracorex, that's a very good card. It's a reactive card just like Epoch, but way more versatile, way better at what it does, and just sees play in slower warrior decks as well. It's just really good at clearing the boards. And I think with the next expansion, there's a lot of board clears gone. This kind of clear will be more premium, so it might just even get stronger. So a great card to have, but yeah, this card is already part of the free cards during Cataclysm, so not very vital to have. The last deck we got is the Imbue Rogue, and first of all, Shadow of the Mice, again, is part of the core set, so you get that for free. Then the next legendary I have is Mirex, and yeah, this is just a solid legendary for Rogue. I definitely expect it to be in a bunch of Rogue decks. It's just really nice, really versatile, and especially with all the Colossals. With Cataclysm, yeah, this can just copy those Colossals, so I think it's just going to get stronger with Cataclysm. It's a really nice card to have for a Rogue. Second legendary that you can get, Opal the Unseen, and yeah, this has already seen play in the past few months, and just a nice card to have. You can draw 3 cards, have some AoE in Rogue that you otherwise don't have. So again, a card I definitely expect to see play in Rogue decks going forward. Third card we have here is Malorn, and yeah, we already discussed Malorn, so if you're playing Imbue deck, it's a nice card to have. So which one of these 6 decks should you pick? Well, it's not as easy as a choice as some other times we've had in the past for these decks. So let's start with 2 decks. I would definitely not pick either Hunter or a Warrior. They both have only 2 legendaries. And one of them is from Time Waste, but that card isn't the greatest, while the other one is pretty solid, but they're already free to play during Cataclysm, so I would not pick those 2. Then we have the Warlock, and I would pick this deck only if you really want to play that Rafaam. I don't expect it to be too good again, but yeah, only play it if you really want to play Rafaam. Croc is probably going to be useless, and Cursed Catacombs, that is nice though for Warlock, but not really worth picking a deck just based on one epic. The next deck then we have is the Imbue Rogue, and this has some solid picks for Rogue, so yeah, if you want to be playing Rogue in the next year, this is definitely a good pick. Some quite nice legendaries, and Rogue is generally pretty strong, so yeah, you can't really go wrong with this pick. Then let's go to the Priest, and the Priest, yeah, if you really want to play Priest, then again, I would suggest this deck. The Shaladosil can be nice as a neutral card that you can slot in multiple decks, but I would only really pick this deck if you really want to play the slower Priest decks. And the last deck we have here, and I think if you didn't say yes to any of the other decks, then I would probably just pick this Druid deck. I think this is overall the best one. It has 1 neutral legendary that you can put in a bunch of decks. It has a class staple in a Myrdrasil, and if you were to disenchant all of these decks and not use any of the cards, this would be the one with the highest dust value. If you want to improve your collection any further, I got a playlist right here where I'll talk about how to get the most out of your gold and dust. If the video was helpful, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.